Hacktivism is a combination of computer hacking and activism. It was historically a bit more of sort of the prankster variety, and occasionally there'd be hacking for the sake of embarrassing a major company, particularly Microsoft or other big technology companies.
A reversal on climate change from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. It will reverse its position on the climate change bill. So the U.S. Chamber is denying it now.
Today, the country's largest business lobby, the Chamber of Commerce, got punked.
What has been hacked? Who do they think hacked it, and why?
This interview was inaccurate.
The hoax was an elaborate one. The prank knocked 3% of Dow shares. Well, I wouldn't say it's a hoax. It's an honest representation of what Dow should be doing.
It took 6 months to scrape 1 million public data profiles. And also the scraping was not easy because obviously we got this data directly from Google servers without annoying the servers. There was an algorithm taking its own time to get this data. So then we started to look at the pictures again and started to be inspired of what we should have done. We started to analyze what kind of mechanism has Facebook, and one of the main things that we started to focus on is how you represent yourself. So mainly your profile picture, and all the information that you give beyond all the posts. We also noticed that the majority of people were smiling. In the end, we got 250,000 categorized profiles. And since we argued that on Facebook there's this constant tension to have more relationship, to be open, to engage with the others. What we did was to make a bold move towards this data. So we made a working dating website, posting all this data categorized. So you could have searched for a funny Brazilian woman and find what the software has categorized as funny among the Brazilians that we got in.
Well, the border crossing project is one that I can tell you about. I decided to cross all the borders within Europe, which sounds a very stupid thing to do because they're supposed to all be open. So people say, that's stupid. They're all open. I say, well, prove it. Do you know they're all open? And they're like, no. I said, well, I'm going to go and have a look. So I crossed every internal border in Europe. And it turns out this was back in the early 2000s that a lot of the borders weren't open. After the border crossing, I realised that most of the controls take place in bureaucratic systems, administration systems, not at nation-state borders, geographic borders. And so I started researching and mapping the system in the UK. And after a while I thought, oh well, this each of us is an example, an imperfect example of the system itself. So if you master the system, you can master identity. And so if you know the system really well, you can make new identities. You can manage your identity, your own identity, but you can make new ones. So I started making new identities. I ran workshops in that. And then someone came to a workshop, a lawyer, and said, you don't have to be secretive, this isn't hacking, this is what lots of people do, and it's not against the law. You can make a new identity, not just change your name, but have a completely new identity. Everything about you is new. Date of birth, name, address, everything. And it can be treated as a separate thing. So I'm Heath Bunting, but I've got other identities. I'd heard about the possibility of superweeds destroying GM crops, so I thought, well, let's make some superweeds, or the weed, and then make it super, you know, like Superman, and then it can fight the evil fascistic corporation. So of course, it was, for humanity's sake, lots of activists started attacking them, and I wanted to be part of that. And so that's what I did. I developed a superweed and then distributed it worldwide so people could use it. Corporations were fascistic, like Monsanto at the time. This was their public stated intention. It wasn't like a conspiracy, it's in their business plan, was to irreversibly insert themselves in the food chain. So if that company went bankrupt, humanity would starve. Monsanto would have had a team of, you know, spies working against me. You know, not just the state, but the corporation themselves. They would have done that, yeah, because I was threatening their brands, threatening their product, big time. You know, millions and millions of dollars at stake. And as an artist, I just thought, oh, you know. Yeah, I was naive. You just think, oh, you can do this and you're having fun and you're an artist and it won't have any consequences.
Luckily, we teamed with Transmediale artistic director in 2010 and 11. We realized that the press release has generated a whole media performance, as we called it.
Facebook threatening to take aggressive legal action against a new dating website.
網站 lovelyfaces.com. Lovelyfaces.com lets you peruse profiles.
This whole thing sounds very similar to Mark Zuckerberg's Face Mash. It's kind of ironic because, as anyone who's seen the social network could tell you, the entire concept of Facebook began when Mark Zuckerberg stole personal data about students that was stored on university databases.
And in a matter of 2 days, we also got a cease and desist letter from Facebook. So we had the media pressure. There were some media supporting us, saying that we were showing Facebook weakness. But there was also Facebook pressure, and we started to have the most threatening danger, which was the personal threats. In our case, we scraped the data, true, and with no authorization. But the problem is that data was public. So we didn't break into Facebook servers to get it. It was data available through Google. The same project could have been done just manually. And potentially it will take much more than 6 months, but potentially you can scrape any amount of people's data just manually. Your portrait, it's their data or it's your data? That was our main question. And the lawyers confirmed that it's a very questionable thing if we were allowed or not to take the data and to show it. And even more, it's very questionable if Facebook can claim the ownership of the data. So let's say that we were always walking on a rope in all the projects, but I think it was very worth.
So part of the identity project was just to say, look, you've got the whole system and we're all equal before the law. So all the system is open to all of us. Why do some of us think we're better than others or have more access to others? It's because of crime. The class system can only exist through criminality. But if we're vigilant against crime, whether that's emotional crime, psychological crime, or property crime, then you're free. So that was the point of my project.
After 11 days, with this pressure combined, we took the dating website off. But we documented everything that we've done during that 11 days. And we went on exhibiting the project. And actually, the Facebook lawyers were insisting that we had to take off everything, including the documentation website. And we resisted for 8 months. We found a lawyer in US defending us on a pro bono basis because we couldn't obviously afford a lawyer. We got this award of distinction by Ars Electronica. And when we got it, Facebook lawyers stopped to ask us to delete the documentation website.
What's the purpose? I get the feeling now in this country that to be free, you have to break all the rules. I think that's very resonant with art, because art is all about creating good questions and breaking the law. You're creating freedom of activity and freedom of thought. If you're aspiring to be a political artist and you're successful, you're going to end up as a martial artist, and you're going to be isolated, and you're going to be under a lot of pressure. But you become effective, like Occupy did in Wall Street. You get destroyed unless you really take on board the need to act like a military player.
We've seen a true explosion of hacktivism and hacker politics in the last 5 years, stretching from WikiLeaks to Anonymous to everything in between. And the question is why?